Let's get this show on the road. I am sober. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Juniper Rose and today I just wanted to sit down and have a chat with you guys about how my practices have influenced me and helped me along my life's path. This topic was actually inspired by one of my friends who asked me that question, and I thought it would be a really good idea to just come on here, chill, talk with you guys, and just chat about it. So yeah. And also I tried out something a bit new with my makeup today, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of in love with it. So this may look black on camera, but the lipstick is actually a really dark purple. But anyways, long story short, I'm so super excited about how my makeup came out today. It looks fucking magical. Don't try to tell me otherwise. But if you guys are interested in me doing a makeup tutorial for this particular look, then go ahead, like this video, leave a comment down below. I definitely do want to start filming some magical makeup tutorials for you guys, so yeah, just let me know. So yeah, before we get started, of course, if you have your coffee, tea, popcorn, ice cream, mashed potatoes apparently, like go ahead, grab it, come back, let's just chill and talk. It will be probably yet another rambly video from me, but like, I mean, you've probably come to expect that by now, so it's nothing new. I have coffee in yet another squirrel mug today because, I mean, why the fuck not? So yeah, basically today I will be talking about how my practices have influenced my life's journey and my path. And it's actually been a very transformational journey for me, and I hope that by me sharing my story and just getting real with you guys, it might inspire you, whether you're stuck, whether you're new in your practice, or maybe whether it's time to change things up a little bit. You know, like we all end up changing our paths a little bit as we go on in life. We are always growing and evolving into different people. And so if you're finding that maybe your practice that you've always been doing hasn't been working as well for you, it might be time to just kind of sit down, get real with yourself, and see if there's something that you could tweak a bit or something that you can add into your practice that might make it more meaningful for you. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Anyways, I guess I'll just start from the beginning because I really don't know where else to start. So the beginning's cool. Like, alright, buckle in, this might be a long story. But anyways, I grew up in a very, very religious Christian household, and I was always told what spirituality was. It was always something that was defined for me. The path was already laid out in front of me, but it never quite clicked with me. I tried for so many years to follow that path, honestly, because at that point, it was really all that I knew. And I, of course, was a very imaginative child, and so I was not only obsessed with fairies, but I was also obsessed with the idea of mythical creatures actually existing in a different dimension. And it just was something that felt right for me, even though people were telling me right and left that fairies aren't real, dragons aren't real, unicorns aren't real, like any mythical creature. But like, I honestly couldn't find it in my heart to believe them, even though I would be like, oh yeah, okay, I guess, in front of everybody else. But yeah, the path of Christianity that was defined for me by birth really just, it didn't sit well for me. It wasn't right for me, and unfortunately it did take me a very long time to figure that out for myself, because I was always told what I should be doing, and it was just basically go to church, don't sin, do this, do that. And I felt very constricted. I felt constrained. I felt it just didn't feel right for me. And just as a quick disclaimer, I am not bashing Christianity at all. That is 110% not my goal here for this video. This is just my personal experiences with it. So you can take it or leave it as you will, whether you are Christian or whether you aren't. It really doesn't doesn't matter. All that matters is a sense of mutual respect between people and the different paths in life that they choose. Christianity didn't personally work out for me, but it might be a great path for you if you are a Christian, and that's okay. That's totally okay. I have no qualms with it. It's just something that didn't work for me. And so, yeah, I was naturally a very magically inclined child with just such a vivid imagination, and I ended up having to put that on the back burner as I grew up. And it wasn't until this past year where I discovered witchcraft. I had always been interested in the concept of Wicca and witchcraft. I thought it was so fucking cool, but I was never quite brave enough to step into myself, to step out of the box and the only concept of reality that I knew. And it was holding me back. It was personally something that held me back, and I had to learn how to grow into myself. I had to learn to accept myself for who I was. I had a very hard time for the longest time being able to accept myself because the Christian society that I grew up in particular, this isn't saying every Christian society is like this, but the community that I grew up in particular, a lot of my personal traits were something that they looked down upon. You know, the sense of a free-spirited person who isn't afraid to speak their mind, isn't afraid to stand up for equality for women. And I personally struggled with it. It really took a toll on my sense of self-worth and my sense of self-confidence, because my self-worth was based entirely around how good of a Christian I was, and I felt judged for it right and left. And of course, we're all human. None of us are perfect. And I had this constant pressure that I needed to feel perfect in literally everything that I did. It was just so stressful for me. And the concept and idea of every little mistake that I was making was being called a sin that I had to repent for really just made me feel terrible. Essentially, I felt like I was living a life in fear. And living a life in fear for me is like putting a bird in a cage. I felt like I couldn't be free to be myself. You know what I mean? I was too afraid to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I was too afraid to research more on witchcraft and Wicca. And just through several life experiences, I learned how to find my voice. I learned how to stand up for myself. I learned to have a fire within me. And it was just liberating. The day that I decided that I wasn't going to give a fuck about what anybody else thought of me, whether they were in that Christian society or not, was the day that I broke free from that cage and I flew. I developed so much faster into the person that I had always wanted myself to be ever since I was a child without fully consciously realizing it. I made the decision that anybody that decides to judge me for who I am and who I want to be based off of simply how I look or simply what I choose as my spiritual path, they're not worth it. They're not worth keeping in my life. If they're going to sit there and judge me and look down on me for my choices, then it's really not worth it. You know, it's not worth it to keep that toxicity in your life, whether it's a friend or a family member or somebody that you know in your community. No matter who that person is, if they choose to be toxic, if they choose to judge you for your choices and who you decide that you want to be, that's their problem, okay? That's an issue that they've got to work out and that they've got to learn for themselves. Will they ever learn it in this lifetime? Who knows? But by acting in that manner, they are choosing to be toxic. They are making that choice consciously. And granted, it may be all that they know, but there comes a time when you have to break free. You have to step outside of the reality you know and accept that the universe is so much bigger than you previously knew it was. So I made that conscious decision to cut anybody toxic out of my life. They weren't serving me. They weren't doing anything good for me. And there was literally nothing that I could do to change their minds. Relationships, whether it's, you know, a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, or a, you know, just an acquaintance relationship. There's two sides to each street. there's an equal amount of effort that needs to be put in from each person. If you're the only one that's putting in the effort to make that happen, or if you're the only one putting in the effort to show that you care for them and they're not retaliating back in a similar manner, if they're retaliating back out of a place of negativity and toxicity, it's not going to do you any good. I learned personally that in the long run, it's something that will only hurt me and hold me back, make me feel bad about myself. And we already live in a society where flaws are not accepted as well as they used to be. We've got Photoshop. We've got this image of beauty in our culture that defines what beauty is, when in reality, every single person is different. We all have different body types. We all have different facial features and different coloring. And while you may be able to put in color contacts or maybe change the color of your hair, there's some things that you can't change. You know what I mean? And by having to feel that pressure to fit into such a small mold of the definition of what beauty is constraining. If you choose that, it's essentially putting you in a cage. What really matters is finding your inner fire and finding that your definition of beauty, your definition of self-worth and being good doesn't have to be defined by somebody else. This is something that you can take the power back for yourself. You can define what your self-worth is. You can build it up based off of what you feel is beautiful, embracing your flaws. I have so many flaws. I am far from perfect. But you know what? Our flaws are what makes us unique. So it's something that you have to learn to love yourself. It's something about yourself that you have to learn to love. And along with the concept of striving to be perfect, not only physically, but inwardly as well, there's a standard of perfection that society has defined for us. And it's just a matter of finding a way to break free from those definitions that society has given us. Perfection is an illusion. It's something that none of us can ever attain according to the standards of what society has set. And so embracing your flaws and realizing that we're only human. We all make mistakes on a regular basis. But instead of viewing these mistakes in the concept of a sin, it's much more beneficial to use this mistake as a learning lesson. This is a lesson to learn, to help you grow, to help you move forward in your path. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. We all make so many mistakes every day, and I have to remind myself that even though I do regret a lot of things that I have done in my life, I have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and ask myself, would I be in this position that I am right now if I hadn't made that mistake? Would I be who I am today if I hadn't made mistakes in the past? Because those mistakes shaped me into who I am today. I am growing, I am evolving, and I am constantly changing on the inside. And I feel like I'm changing into a better person. I feel like I am raising my vibrations to vibrate at the same level as my higher self. And that's really all that spirituality is whether you find that in Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism or even no religion at all. As long as you're growing and evolving and constantly trying to be a better person by learning from your mistakes and using that as a tool to help you move forward in your path, like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, we as a society have such a hard time accepting that we're all different. We all process things differently. We all learn differently, and we can't all fit onto the same path. If as a society we're trying to all travel one path, it gets crowded. You get lost. You can get trampled on. Why is it such a bad thing to turn off into a fork in the road and follow your own path? You define what is going to happen in your life. You define your path. And so for me, as I grew and learned from my experiences in figuring out that Christianity wasn't the right path for me, and as I learned to remove toxic people from my life, I noticed that I was attracting people that were on a similar vibration and a similar mindset as I was. I started attracting people into my life that, while they might not be on any type of a similar path, they were generally very open-minded and accepting of what I chose to do and how I chose to define my spirituality. After I decided that Christianity wasn't necessarily the right path for me, I chose to be agnostic for a bit, where I was open to the concept of all religions, and I essentially believed that there are good things to be found in every religion. There are good things to be found in humanity. There are good things to be found in no religion or no spiritual path. But what I found that my core beliefs was growing and evolving and ever changing into a better person. I started researching a lot of these different religions. I started researching Buddhism and just a lot of different non-Christian faiths and a lot of belief systems that were non-Abrahamic. And I found beauty in a lot of them, and I loved the way that Buddhism has described a lot of different things, but I didn't exactly feel a personal connection to it. While I thought it was beautiful and while I did learn a lot from studying what I did from it, I internalized what I resonated with, and I took that and moved forward. I really wanted to find something to help me get back into nature because I've always loved nature. Nature is beauty. Nature has flaws. Nature grows, it lives, dies, it's reborn, and everything about the world and the way that everything is provided for us to live is such a beautiful concept for me. Mother Nature has provided us with everything. It always has hurt my heart to see humans abuse the earth and putting so much pollution into the air, fighting against nature instead of working alongside with it. And that was something else that I realized that I was very passionate about. I spent most of my time as a child, or as much time as I possibly could, outside. I loved being outside. I loved breathing in the fresh air. I guess essentially I was rediscovering my inner child. I was acknowledging her again. I was reawakening all of those things that I believed and all of those things that inspired me as a child, but I had forgotten. I had ignored it. It was very refreshing to let her come back out. It was refreshing to accept my inner child, accept her as a part of me, and let her guide me to what I was always meant to do. I started researching a lot more on nature-based religions. I found the courage to do this because I didn't feel like I would be judged anymore. And if I was to be judged for it, I didn't give a flying rat's ass, because if those people are going to judge me, then I don't need them in my life. And I ended up researching through YouTube, through a lot of websites, and I realized that witchcraft and Wicca and paganism essentially was what my inner child wanted me to follow from the start. It resonated deep within me. It felt like my personal truth. I discovered this about myself about a year ago. I was researching into it. I was still a little bit hesitant to jump right in and just start practicing witchcraft. But the more and more that I researched it, the more and more my inner child was awakened and excited by this. And I realized I've got to listen to her. I've got to listen to my inner child. I've got to awaken myself. This feels like the right path for me personally. What's holding me back? There is nothing holding me back but myself at this point. I realized that and I decided to jump in. And I honestly haven't looked back ever since. Being a witch has given me back the power for myself. I get to define and choose what my spiritual path is. I don't have to make any decisions based off of what other people are telling me, what society is telling me. And again, I felt like I broke free from another cage and I was able to fly. I was able to acknowledge my free spirit again and really take off and fly. And while I have only been officially practicing for exactly 1 year now, I have learned so much. I feel like in this year alone, I have evolved more as a person into who I want to be than I have in my entire adult life and in my entire childhood, essentially. My inner child knew what my path was. Society told me that I couldn't listen to my inner child anymore, and so I stopped, but it didn't do me any good. My camera literally just shut off on me. It's like, you're rambling and I'm getting tired and bored, so bye. Thanks, camera. Thanks. I appreciate it. Don't appreciate it. Anyways, so back to what I was saying. I joined the Hatchling clan as a way to motivate myself to start practicing witchcraft and to connect with other people in the community and see what their paths were all about and to see what I could learn, because I love learning so much. I love researching, and I love the whole process. Like, not only am I a bit of a history nerd, but I find cultures and different spiritual paths absolutely fascinating. So I was so excited to be able to connect with a bunch of new people that were on similar paths that I was on. And I was able to get to know so many beautiful people. And honestly, they've become some of my best friends today. I've had the opportunity to actually help lead and run the clan with Azura. And we've become pretty good friends, and she is such a beautiful person. There are so many beautiful people in the clan that I would never have met if I hadn't made that decision to jump in. I've learned so much more than what I ever could have imagined in just this 1 year. Do I still have a long ways to go in developing my practice and traveling on my path? Hell yes. But through connecting with all these people and through seeing their paths, whether they were new or whether they had been practicing for years, it was so beautiful. And what I love about this community on Amino is that you have the opportunity to share your own experiences. You have the opportunity to research different topics that interest you and post them for everybody to see, to comment on, and to start a conversation. There's chat rooms where you can go in and talk to people about a particular subject, whether it's about dragons or fairies or unicorns or divination, or like, honestly, it's endless. And being able to bounce those ideas off of people and take in what personally resonated with me, and then be able to do further research on it myself and put that back out into the community has helped me grow exponentially. If you happen to be watching this video and you might not be a member of the Hatchling clan, I highly recommend that you check it out. I will definitely leave a link for the Hatchling clan through Amino apps down in the description box below. And in the very off chance that you might not know who Azura is, like, oh my god, where have you been? I will leave her information down in the description box below. But like I said before, like, I'm sure you guys all know who she is. But yeah, like, that's basically my path. That's my story on how I became a witch. And another reason for me wanting to start my YouTube channel was basically that I'd been wanting to start a YouTube channel for a while, but I wanted to do a channel with a subject that had special meaning for me. And I feel like witchcraft and paganism and my spiritual path is just the perfect thing to share. And so you may be on a completely different path from me, and that's okay. We're all one in our differences. We all come together to celebrate our differences and to celebrate our flaws and to help each other learn and grow. We come together just simply to experience being human. And I really feel like that's such an important thing to remember in today's society, especially if you are in a community that is quick to judge, or society in general you feel is just so quick to judge you based off of simply how you look, what you choose to wear, how you choose to do your makeup, or how you choose to do whatever it is. Like, be yourself. You are unique. And there is nobody here on earth that can truly replace you. There is nobody here on earth that can ever replace you. You are uniquely yourself for a reason. Look inside of yourself. What truths resonate personally with you? Take away the filters of society. Take away the constraints of religion. Strip it down to the bone. Who are you? Who do you want to be? So this message, I really hope, is something that will inspire you guys. I felt inspired to share my story with you because I really do care about you guys. And I'm just so excited to be able to grow with you. We're all growing, we're all evolving, we're all constantly changing. That is the beauty of being human. If you don't like something about yourself or your choices, you have the power to change that. But first, you need to learn to love yourself for who you truly are on the inside. Don't let society cloud you. Don't let these pre-programmed beliefs cloud your judgment. Strip it away. You don't need it. So anyways, that's my message for today. And I know that today is more of a serious video. I do like to make things lighthearted a lot because that's just who I am. But I needed to be real with you guys today. And I really hope that you will take something from this video. I hope that you will be inspired to really dive deep and discover who you are and start that path of self-love, because I mean, February is kind of actually all about loving yourself and healing yourself. We all struggle. We all have issues in this life, but it's just part of life, and you really can't beat yourself up too much over any mistakes that you make. Because if you focus on that instead of focusing on learning from it, you're not going to grow. You're going to not make yourself happy. And I have a long way to go. I'm still learning. I'm not an expert, but this is what I have learned so far on my path in witchcraft. Oh my god. You know you've been talking way too long when your camera just decides to shut off on you again. So anyways, so if you guys haven't subscribed yet to my channel, we would love to have you. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and don't forget to turn on your bell notifications so that you never have to miss a video. And yeah, I can't wait to hear and see you guys share your stories down in the comments below if you choose to do so. But until next time, the witch is out. Bye! um